Hello everyone, this is G and I'm back with a new video. I actually wasn't planning to do a video today. It's been a very rough week for me, especially Thursday and Friday. I've been feeling under the weather, so I was trying to just sort of relax. But then someone had to post some dumb on Twitter, and it's just a dumb that I cannot let pass. So before we get started, I just want to share this picture of RJ because it is indeed Saturday, and Saturday is Catterday. The real RJ is just fine. He's currently sitting next to my printer because, of course, he is. He always has to make sure that I am aware of him, right? He always has my attention in some fashion. So here's a pic of RJ for Catterday. It is one of my favorite pics of him because he looks so regal. But believe me, he's a little diva. He's a itty bitty little diva, and he has no problem with acting like a little diva either. So I just saw this tweet from Buy Indy Comics Day, right? Which you would think would want to, promote indie comics, right? So it says, just to be clear, yes, we blocked many hashtag Comicsgate creators and or fans as well as people who are friendly with them. Reason? Do a quick Google search on them and you'll quickly find out the type of people they are, and we don't want to associate ourselves in any way. Stay in your lane. And of course, as you could imagine, the comment section in this is, oh, it's alive. Let's just say it's alive and well, and people on both sides are getting into it, right? So I responded with this. I quote tweeted and said this. So you block potential customers based on internet affiliation and rumors. You do realize that the mainstream industry is toxic as well, right? All this does is turn people away from comics. And here's the thing. Now, of course, they have a right to block whomever they want, though I feel that generally it doesn't help you if you're trying to promote something to block potential customers, even if you disagree with their affiliations. As Michael Jordan once famously said, Republicans buy sneakers too. But here's the thing. He says that you should just do a quick Google search and you'll find out what type of people Comicsgate are. First of all, the current state of Comicsgate is fractured. There's Ethan and his war campaign, and there's the like DNC and whatnot, who are sort of the indie creators, and then there are the old school critics who still who still hope that one day the mainstream will turn itself around. First of all, that's actually a huge part of the division. The indie scene wants to totally separate. They kind of want to be like Image back in the day and totally separate from mainstream comics. And the older groups sort of, want to continue to sort of like, campaign for the industry to, finally uh, reverse course and start making comics for comic fans again, right? Whatever side you're on in that debate, whatever, right? People are going to have their opinions left, right, and center. Now, I will be clear that if I don't necessarily consider myself a part of Comicsgate anymore, but if I had to choose, I would probably be more on the older critic side. Although, if an indie comic is good, I'll support it. For example, I did purchase DNC's Jawbreakers when it was first out, and although I ended up losing 2 copies of it because life hates me, I did enjoy the book for the short time I had it. My main issue with the indie scene is Van Sciver and his online behavior. In particular, his interactions with Nerdette's newsstand last year. But again, it's not something I typically address because I don't follow him. I don't. Most of the time, I'm not gonna focus my energies or attentions on someone who I don't like, right? But here's the thing: everybody's gonna go do their own thing, and that's fine. Infighting in groups is normal, but if you're trying to get people to buy comics, blocking people is not the way to go. Even Clownfish did a video about this. Apparently, there's some lady named Jamila or whatnot who's the new comics person at Kickstarter, and she started blocking everybody who's like Fandom Menace or Fandom Menace affiliate or something. It doesn't help. All it does is close you in and create an echo chamber. and then your justification is, oh, do a quick Google search on them, because Google is always correct, because there certainly isn't a mainstream industry that loves to paint anybody who is critical of them as a problem. No, no, that's not it at all. Look, as somebody who was there at the beginning of Comicsgate as a viewer, right? Comicsgate, at least the one I remember, right, was never a hate group. Were they a bit salty at times? Yes. Men be salty. And DNC actually cleaned up his act. Well, now he's Comics Matter, right? But he cleaned up his act very quickly. He would at times say disparaging things about women, and the women in the comment section would be like, "Dude, you don't know what you're talking about." He would apologize, and he wouldn't do it again. He would in time apologize for the comments he made about Max Versace, in particular the whole man in a wig thing. And he would eventually apologize even for the comments he made about Heather Antos. Keep in mind, neither Mags nor Heather ever apologized for the comments they made about him, but he did his best to make amends and apologize for the things that he said. So at least the guy has some integrity, right? Now, whatever you think of Ethan or other individuals, okay, fine. But they were never a hate group. The only thing they ever hated was bad comics. That's it. They hated bad comics. They hated what the mainstream industry that they had supported, either by buying comics or by working in it, as Van Sciver had at DC for like 2 decades. What they had done to these classic heroes, right? They were fans who, like many fans today still, are upset with the forced faux diversity and the constant race and sexuality flipping and all this other stuff that irritates fans who have money to spend. And they just made their thoughts clear. And so what did the mainstream do? The mainstream closed ranks, spread rumors about Comicsgate amongst themselves, and then were openly antagonistic with many people, including DNC back when he had a Twitter, uh, and others, being incredibly rude, incredibly insulting. Doug Ernst has video after video after video after video about the hate boner that um, Dan Slott has, both for him personally. Slott's got a weird obsession with Doug Ernst, but with Doug personally, and just with any sort of critical fans in general. It's been noted, even in like official documentaries that have got nothing to do with Comicsgate. It has been noticed how Dan Slott hates to put in work, and he's always late on stuff. This was the stuff that Comicsgate was routinely calling out, and then of course the poor quality of comics, right? But you want to do a Google search. Okay, do a Google search on Mark Waid and his rages. Do a Google search on how he interfered. Right, the court case is over. I don't know why the DNC dropped it, his choice, but do a Google search on how he pretty much bullied, Mark Waid bullied, in my opinion, Antarctic Press into not publishing Jawbreakers just so that Richard Meyer, Comics Matter, Diversity in Comics, whatever you want to call him, couldn't have his dream of seeing his book in a comic book shop, right? Do your Google research on that, right? Because here's the thing, right? The mainstream industry is toxic AF. It is toxic as all hell. You want to complain about Ethan? Okay, fine. There are valid reasons. But guess what? For every Ethan, the mainstream has a Tom King, right? Tom King, who has tweeted recently, love. This comes from Doug Ernst's Twitter account, but I've seen it floating on other Twitter accounts as well. So this is from Tom King tweeting about how he got in the face of a cosplayer recently at a con. So Tom King tweets, "Love seeing people at cons, but yesterday we had a Warshash. I can't say this word. I know people have told me how to say it. I can't say it. Cosplayer who took his mask off at our table. You think I swear a lot in comics? You should see me in person." right? After an impolite talking to, Horshash, whatever the hell how you pronounce it, was escorted from the con. Wear your mask. We're not effing around. And as I said here at the bottom, I have no patience for that noob, of course, being Tom King. You see, you could complain about Ethan and his mean words and his mean tweets all you like. Again, I don't like Ethan. His work, I'm indifferent about for the most part. He just tends to work on things that I have no interest in, but I really disagree with his internet behavior. But I will say this much, right? To my knowledge, he hasn't tried to get anybody canceled. You see, Tom King, July of last year, I believe it was, tried to get an artist by the name of Jay Lee, who had done a cover for I think it was a Wonder Woman comic. No, wait, no. It was actually Watchmen. It was a Watchmen comic. Now I remember. He had done a cover. Jay Lee had done a cover for a Watchmen comic. Interestingly enough, and Tom King came on Twitter and pretty much tried to get the dude canceled, and many, myself included, believe tried to get him fired from DC because he happened to have done a Cyberfrog cover for Ethan Van Sciver as a favor because he had apparently worked on Cyberfrog like 20 some odd years ago back when it was under Harris Comics. Right, so just because Jay Lee came back to do one cover, I think, one or two covers, or just a few covers, right, on a series that he had worked on decades earlier, Tom King tried to get him canceled. I literally made 6 videos in one day covering that. It got so bad that people started tweeting at Jim Lee, who was now one of the big wigs at DC, to step in and do something. Okay? And Tom King would eventually apologize and take the tweet down, right? That was initially trying to get Jay Lee canceled. Whatever you want to say about Ethan, I don't think he's ever done anything that bad, or anyone else in Comicscape. But however you define that these days, you see, Max Fasaccio tried to get Sean Gordon Murphy in trouble by claiming that he broke a promise to her over something. Right? It's the mainstream industry that has the Whisper Network. It's the mainstream industry that is attacking people like James Tyrion and Jonathan Hickman and whatnot, and others who are now leaving the mainstream to go do their writing, do their work at Substack. So where there was a sort of an artist revolt back in the early '90s, which led to Image, now is sort of a writers revolt, and they're going to Substack. And the industry, the mainstream industry, DC and Marvel mainly, are incredibly salty about it, right? And there's many other instances of bad behavior. There's a whole damn list when it comes to Mark Waid, and there's Heather Antos and her general just bad attitude and jerktitude. But there's been plenty of tweets and whatnot over the years, disgusting things that the mainstream has said, right? And they still to this day believe that they are not beholden to the demands and opinions of the fans, right? Back when I used to cover comics much more closely than I do now, I was always doing videos about how this person said this or this person said that, right? So the mainstream industry is toxic as all get out. So if you're going to block people who are affiliated with Comicsgate because you believe these rumors about Comicsgate being a hate group and everything, well, then I hope that you've blocked people who also follow Tom King, and they follow Dan Slott, and they follow many other writers, Antos, and other writers, editors, and whatnot, who have been flat out antagonistic, not just towards Comicsgaters or people who are believed to be Comicsgate affiliate, but just toward fans in general. You see, the same mean girl attitude that has infected and plagued the mainstream industry because it's always been there, right? It's creatives. There's always a level of infighting and immaturity and all that. But now it's hit like a critical mass. And it's not just a matter of people getting along in the bullpen when they work. Now it's constantly producing a poor work product and poor interactions with the fans. So if you're going to call Comicsgate a hate group for what people have said and done, well then you got to do the same thing for the mainstream. Be consistent, because they have a much longer history of their misdeeds than Comicsgate does. But here's the thing: all this does in the end is just, as I said here, turn people away from comics. Because guess what? The people who like the indie scene are not going to be moved by this tweet. They'll be insulted. They may uh, uh, clap back at you via tweet, but they're not going to change their minds, right? Ethan has his war campaign. The people who like him are going to like him no matter what you think or no matter what you say. The people who like D and C stuff are going to like him no matter what you think or no matter what you say. People who like other indie works, right? Especially those from popular people like, who is it? Keanu Reeves. Ah, one second. As I was saying, the people who like Keanu Reeves and his Berserker comic have already, purchased it. The people who are interested in Spawn, I think it was King Spawn I was hearing, sold like 500,000 copies. Right? It's already done. This type of tweet does not change anybody's mind. It's not going to cause a mass exodus. All this does is just turn people away from you and turn people away from comics. Because guess what? This doesn't make me want to read a comic book, at least nothing new. Right? If they were to promote a particular comic book under their banner, say, oh, check out this book, guess what? You've now offended me. So now I'm less likely to check out that book. So you're not hurting the big names in the indie scene. You're hurting the smaller creators in the indie scene who need that sort of bump, right? Who need a buy indie comics game. Comics day to get noticed, right? What this account should be focusing on is tweeting about works that maybe people have not heard of, or works that could use, again, that boost, right, to get noticed. But instead, they do what sadly a lot of comics Twitter accounts and just in general like to do. They antagonize people, right? They antagonize people, and they label any sort of fan or supporter of the wrong team as problematic. Well, you know what? I was born problematic. I live problematic. I will die problematic. So I really don't care at this point what this particular account thinks of me. Right? But I am sorry for those, smaller accounts that are going to be, or smaller creators, I should say, that are going to be overlooked, because this tweet here is going to get a lot more attention than their comic book is. That's the sad thing. And I contribute to this too, right? The drama always gets more attention than the work. It's not right. And I admit, I'm a part of the problem too in that regard, but that's the way it works. You have not promoted one comic with this drama. You haven't uplifted one creator with this drama. All you have done is make people angry with you. And if you cannot uplift others, then maybe you should just move aside. But anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a good day and night wherever you are, and let's end this video on a positive note. Okay! Okay. Look how cute he is. Anyway, have a good day and night wherever you are. Stay safe in this crazy world that we're living in. And I'll see you in the next vid. Or at least you might hear me in the next vid. See you around. Bye.